Hello guys, so before doing the lateral face and the pterygoid the parotid region, I wanted to first discuss the mandibular nerve because it plays a major role when it comes to the muscles of mastication, as we are going to be discussing them. So it is best to understand its origin and its cause, right? Because it will be easier for you then to understand everything. As I said, the aim is to make anatomy a little bit easier. So with that, I want to do bit of a chunks, right? Bit of chunks. So I will be doing this video is just mainly on the mandibular nerve. So it will be very short and it will make it a little bit easier for you to be able to understand without craning, of course. Understand everything about the mandibular nerve. So without wasting time, what you have to first remember is that the trigeminal nerve, the mandibular nerve is a branch of the trigeminal nerve, which is your cranial nerve number 5, right? So you have your cranial nerve number 5, which has how many branches? It has 3 branches, right? So it has the first one being the ophthalmic, and we spoke about the ophthalmic yesterday. The ophthalmic, when it comes to the innervation of the skull and that, that of the anterior face, right? And we mentioned a little bit of the maxillary, and now in this video, I'm mainly on the mandibular. So what I'm going to do, guys, let me know in the comments below if you want me to do a separate video discussing the ophthalmic nerve and its branches, and the same with maxillary, right? Because these things are complicated when you want to study them as a whole, right? So you first study the little bits, or you group them and then you combine everything all together, right? So what you have to bear in mind and what you have to remember before you can even start is that your your ophthalmic division and your maxillary division, they are both sensory, purely sensory. There's nothing that is to do with motor. But when it comes to your mandibular, it is mixed, right? So since it is mixed, it means that it contains both sensory and motor. It contains both sensory and motor. So without wasting time, I want to do a bit of a revision on its origin, right? So if we were to, or if you remember back in neuroanatomy, right? Because remember what I told you, anatomy is, don't look at it, it's just because they divided into regions, it doesn't mean it's divided on its own. After the aim of them dividing it just to make the work a little bit easier for us, right? But you must combine everything and don't be I don't know, centered in a way to focus on one region and just know that when you are done with that region, you forget everything you studied, and then you take another region as if it's something completely new. No, you must link all these regions together to see how they link and everything. So going back to that, if we were to, if I was to cut this, the top part would be your midbrain, right? This is just a section of some sort to make it easy. I can't draw the proper one because we're not doing neuroanatomy, but I'm just reminding you. And then this region, this would be your pons, that would be your midbrain, and this would be your medulla, right? So we are mainly on the pons, right? So what you have to know is that the trigeminal nerve has 4 nuclei, right? It has 4 nuclei, if you remember quite well. It has the smaller motor nucleus, right? Then let me use a different color. That blue one is the motor nucleus, and then it has your spinal trigeminal nucleus, which the sensory nucleus, it's like the sensory nuclei, it's like they're going all around the brainstem, because all of this combined, the midbrain, the pons in the what, we call them the brain stem, right? That's your brain stem. So with your sensory nuclei, it's like they're going all around the brain stem. They are not specifically on the pons and everything, just like the motor nucleus is. But this, since this is neuroanatomy, you don't have to be specific. I just want to remind you something. So this is your spinal sensory, or the spinal trigeminal sensory nucleus. So that is specifically for, okay, we'll come back to it. That's your, remember that's your spinal sensory nuclei, right? That's your spinal. Forgive me for my handwriting, guys. And then, as I said, we have 4. The other one, which is bit somewhere there, that's your principal. Other textbooks will say the main, right? So that's your principal nuclei. They will say it's principal sensory nuclei. It's the same thing, guys. The same thing. And then on top of it, at about that level, you have your last nuclei, which is your what? Your mesencephalic. Don't write it in full, guys. You have your mesencephalic. So what you have to understand, you have to understand the function of each and where they originate specifically. So when it comes to their origin, it is what I've given you, this schematic drawing of mine, right? To make it simple. And then I'm going to use this picture to summarize everything, to show you that in reality, this is what it looks like, right? Because here, I'm just trying to make it simple for you to understand. So you have our mesencephalic nucleus, we have our principal sensory nucleus, we have our spinal trigeminal nucleus, and then we have our motor, which is this one in blue, right? So your spinal sensory, it deals mainly. So since that sensory, since these green ones are the sensory nuclei, it means that their function is to pick up the stimulus, right? To pick up the stimulus. So what kind of stimulus do they pick? Because they are different. So your spinal will pick up anything that has to do with pain and temperature. So it's pain and temperature, right? That's your spinal trigeminal. And then your principal is anything that has to do mainly with touch, right? So if it has to do with touch, that is your principal sensory in action. And then lastly, your mesencephalic, anything that has to do with proprioception. You still remember what proprioception is, right? Still, so it's proprioception. I won't write it in full, I just write proprio. So it is your proprioception. And then your motor nucleus, it has to do with, and this one, if you remember quite well, this motor nucleus it's less, its fibers are less compared to the sensory nerves, because the cranial nerve number 5 is mixed. But since it's mixed, remember that since it's mixed, before it can even go to its trigeminal ganglion, because after from the brainstem they will go to the trigeminal ganglion. So let me draw something like that, right? You have your trigeminal ganglion. Then from the trigeminal ganglion you will have what? 3 protrusions like that. This is your V1, this is your V2, this is your V3. So your V1 and V2, those ones, as I said, they are mainly sensory. So this motor nucleus has nothing to do with these ones, right? So if I were to take this motor nucleus would go like that, and it will only go with the mandible, not with these two, right? It will only go with the mandible. So when we are saying that the trigeminal nerve number 5, it's mixed. Yes, it is mixed, but to be specific, the mixed part division of it is what is the mandibular division, right? The first and the second ones, which are the ophthalmic and the maxillary, they are mainly sensory. Are we clear, guys? So your V3 will then do what I said. Since you're going to talk about the lateral face in the parotid region, it's mainly on muscles of mastication. So it's your muscles of mastication. I won't write it in, right? Awesome. So if you did understand that, guys, that is awesome. That is awesome because that is just the beginning of what we are going to do. Are we clear? Awesome. So without wasting time, let me give you the easiest way to know these things and master them. Awesome. So you must listen carefully, guys, because at the end of this video, this diagram I'm going to be showing you, because I'm going to be explaining while drawing something. It's going to be messy, and I prefer you listen, take notes, check your textbook, or do something after the whole video, right? So it will be easier for you because no one is going to give you what I'm about to give you, this simple explanation, because this is the only way to understand it and to make it simple. Don't overcomplicate things, right? So what you have to know is that from I said we are only going to deal with the mandibular nerve, right? So what you have to understand is that the mandibular nerve is divided into two. It has the anterior division and it has the posterior division. And both the divisions have their specific branches and everything. So it's going to be complicated. As you can see, this picture here, it's complicated. And that is just, that the whole of this is the mandibular nerve. The whole of that is the mandibular nerve and its branches. So for you not to cram that, you must understand what I'm about to say here. And I'm going to explain. And it will be easier for you then to understand this and be able to name things here and everything, right? Because cramming this and its names and everything is just useless, wasting your time, right? So the mandibular division, before it can be even be the mandibular nerve, it has two, because remember we just said it's mixed. So it has the sensory root, which is a lot thicker and bigger. It's bigger than the motor root. And I explained why, right? I just explained why right now. If you didn't understand, check. I just explained right now to say that since the motor is the only one which plays a role in the mandibular, it doesn't have much of a role, so it has to be small because the mandibular is mostly sensory. Only part of it is motor, but overall it's mixed, right? And then you'll have your motor division. Then you have your motor division. So the blue one is for motor. This is for your motor root. This is for your sensory root, right? Awesome. So, and another thing is this sensory root. It's not like it takes one of the sensory nuclei. It's from all three. Hence, it's thicker. I hope that makes sense, guys. So this is your sensory root. This is your motor root. And then what will happen is that they will enter the foramen ovale. They will enter the foramen ovale. Then from the foramen ovale, after entering the foramen ovale, what will happen is that they will join. They will join to form the trunk, right? They will join to form the trunk. So let me draw that trunk in green. So they will join to form the trunk. So it will look something like this. This would be your trunk. After they exit the foramen ovale, because remember this, they are from the cranial cavity. So after they exit, they will form this trunk here. Are we clear? Awesome. So from there, what will happen is that the sensory root will form mainly your posterior division, and then your motor root will form most of your anterior division. So from this trunk, you have your posterior division, and then you have your anterior division. I think it's easier to understand with the colors I drew, guys. So most of your anterior division is formed by your motor root, and then most of your posterior division is formed by your sensory root, right? And then from your anterior division, you will have muscles of mastication. We only have 4 muscles of mastication, right? So you'll have your lateral pterygoid. Don't stress much about muscles of mastication for now, because I'm going to do them when I'm doing the lateral face and the parotid region, and I'm going to tackle them more specifically then. This is just for you to understand, right, before you even do the lateral face, because it will be easier for you. As I did with the video of the scalp, if you did the video of the scalp, and if you didn't check it, I'll put the link up there, right? Check it. And if you did understand the video, it was easier for you to understand what the facial muscles of facial expression, because they were linking. So with this one too, I'm saying if you understand this course of the mandibular nerve and everything, it will be easier for you to understand the lateral face and parotid region, right? Awesome. So the first muscle is the lateral pterygoid. The second one, you have your masseter muscle, right? You just write it. That's your masseter muscle. And then you have your temporalis muscle. And then I said we have 4, but I've only labeled 3. The thing is, the fourth one, which is your medial pterygoid, is not from the branch of the anterior division. Where does it branch from? Branches from the trunk. So your medial pterygoid branches from the trunk, or it is supplied by the branch from the trunk, right? And it is not the only one. This branch also continues to give us, to supply two other muscles, which is your tensor tympani, the tensor tympani, and your tensor palatine, right? Tensor tympani and tensor palatine. So guys, I'm going to write only the abbreviations right now. So what you have to do is pause the video and write them in full. This is the tensor tympani, this is the tensor palatine, right? So a tensor tympani, it is mainly associated with the middle ear bone, which is your malleus, right? So the function of the tensor tympani is to dampen the sound, right? So it dampens the sound, and what it does is that when you're chewing, for you not to hear that sound, it is because of the tensor tympani, because it lowers the sound that you make by chewing. Because when you're chewing, you can't hear that sound. Like it is much less. It is much less. So it is done by stabilizing the malleus bone. So what stabilizes the malleus bone is the tensor tympani, and then your tensor palatine. What it does, it elevates the soft palatine. The soft palatine at the back there. So what's the purpose of that? So that the food and the liquid don't enter the nasopharynx. Are we here? Awesome, guys. So that's what you have to understand from the branch of the trunk, right? And then from there, it is easier for you to understand everything here. Are we clear? Awesome, guys. I hope it makes sense so far, right? So with that being said, the anterior division, that will be it for the anterior division. But there's a nerve that continues. Let me use read here for you so that there's a, okay, Jesus. You have a nerve that continues there, which is our buccal nerve. So our buccal nerve, although it is in the anterior division, it is sensory. This is our buccal nerve, right? So although it is in the anterior division, it is sensory. So it is the only nerve that is sensory in the anterior division. And what does the buccal nerve supply? Or yeah, so the buccal nerve does what? It um supplies the what you call the because buccal is the cheek, right? So it will come around. So it innervates or it takes the stimulus from the area around the vaccinator, so the skin and the mucous membrane around the vaccinator. Okay, also. So that will be it for the anterior division. That will be it for the anterior division. Going to the posterior division, our first division is the lingual nerve. So you have your lingual nerve. So this is the lingual nerve going to supply the tongue. So I'll just draw something. That will be my tongue, guys. Yeah. So what it does, the lingual nerve supplies the anterior 2/3. So it supplies the anterior 2/3 of the tongue, right? Anterior 2/3 of the tongue. So it will go supply. It is for general sensation. Yeah? The, the sensory ones, they don't supply per se. They just take the stimulus. You know what's the function of the sensory takes the stimulus to the brain and everything. So forgive me for using supply, right? So it innervates, it doesn't innervate. I don't know which specific word to use, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say, guys. So it is for general sensation on the anterior 2/3 of the tongue. So it is mainly for pain, for touch, and for temperature. Are we clear? For pain, touch, and temperature. General sensation in the anterior 2/3 of the tongue. I hope we are together so far. And then from there, you'll have another branch on the posterior division. Remember, now we are in the posterior division. So the first branch will be your lingual. So this is uh, your lingual nerve, right? Then from there, we would have our other division, which would be our inferior alveolar. So you'll have your inferior alveolar going that way, right? So your inferior alveolar will enter on the inner surface of the mandible, right? The inner surface of the mandible, to be specific, the body of the mandible. It will enter the foramen, the mandibular foramen, right? So if this is our mandibular foramen, that is our mandibular foramen, right? So it will enter the mandibular foramen. So you have mandibular foramen. Then when it enters the mandibular foramen, it will go on the inner surface of the mandible, and then it will exit at the mental foramen. So let's say that is our mental foramen right there. Okay? Our mental foramen. This is mental foramen, that is mandibular foramen. Then what it will do, it will go in its course. Then when it exits the mental foramen, it will be called the mental nerve. Only when it exits the mental foramen, it is called the mental nerve. So the mental nerve will do what? It will supply the skin of the lower lip and the chin. And then here, the inferior alveolar. And then the inferior alveole will give us, before it can even go to, before it can enter the mandibular foramen, it will give us a branch, which is the nerve to mylohyoid. The nerve to mylohyoid will supply two muscles. So it will supply the mylohyoid muscle itself, right? It will supply the mylohyoid muscle itself. Forgive me for the bad handwriting, guys. We said this nerve is what? It's nerve to mylohyoid. Nerve to mylohyoid. And it will also innervate what? The anterior belly. We are going to do this, don't worry. The anterior belly of the digastric. I'll just write the anterior belly of D, the anterior belly of the digastric muscle. So that is the nerve to mylohyoid. And again, guys, if you grasp this, because we're going to do this when you're doing the neck, it will be easier for you to understand the nerve supply and the blood supply and everything when you're doing the nerve if you did understand this video, right? Awesome. And then from there, we will have our last branch. So far we have two branches. We have the lingual, we have the inferior alveolar. This is the inferior, I'll just write IA, right? This is the inferior alveolar. This one is not really much of a branch because it branches from the inferior alveolar itself. So we have the lingual, the inferior alveolar, and then we have the auriculotemporal. And we spoke about the auriculotemporal in the previous lessons to say that they supply the area that is just anterior superiorly to the auricle. And then the auriculotemporal will also pass through this is your parotid gland. Eh? This is your parotid gland. You are going to do that. This is important and it confuses a lot of people by the time you get there. So once you grasp it now, it will be easier for you. The parotid gland. So it will pass through the parotid gland. So there's something that is amazing that will happen. Is that you have what we call the lesser superficial petrosal nerve, right? So the lesser superficial petrosal nerve will, let me indicate it in green. It will be carried along by the auriculotemporal to supply the parotid gland. So the question is, where is this lesser superficial petrosal nerve from? Remember, at this region, somewhere there, you have something called the otic ganglion. The otic ganglion. You have your, so this is your postganglion. This is your postganglion. And then your preganglion, which is this lesser superficial petrosal nerve, is from cranial nerve number 9. So it is from cranial nerve number 9. It's easy, guys. Don't confuse yourself. I'm going to explain. Surely you're right now, you're like, I was getting this, and now this guy is starting to confuse me. It's simple. From your glossopharyngeal nerve, you have the tympanic branches. So one of the tympanic branches, I'm not going to discuss the others. One of the tympanic branches is your lesser superficial petrosal nerve. So what it will do, it will descend and then it will exit the skull via the foramen ovale, and then it will go to the otic ganglion. This is your otic ganglion, the whole of this. So from the otic ganglion, and then the post ganglion, the post fiber to it will be this. It will continue to join the auriculotemporal to supply the parotid gland. So this is the parasympathetic fiber. It's a parasympathetic fiber. This lesser petrosal, whatever, right? Your lesser petrosal, lesser superficial petrosal nerve, right? So what is important? Okay, I'm going to explain it right now. It's okay. Let me explain something here. So what we see there is that we now have V3, which is your mandibular nerve, the branch of the mandibular nerve, and we have another branch of, we now have a branch of the cranial nerve number 9, right? Even here, from cranial nerve number 7, which is your facial nerve, right? Then from your facial nerve, you'll have a branch, which is called tympani. Chorda tympani will join the lingual nerve going to the anterior 2/3 of the tongue as well. So what is the function of the chorda tympani? It is mainly for taste, guys. It is for taste, nothing else. It is for taste. Forgive me for that taste, but it is for taste, right? So this is your chorda tympani, a branch. I just write CT, chorda tympani. So meaning the anterior 2/3, what you know now, you know the general sensation, and you know that it is also for taste, it is chorda tympani which is responsible. Then for general sensation, it is what? Your lingual nerve. I hope that makes sense. It's easy, guys. And then your chorda tympani will also branch to supply two nerves, two glands, I mean to say, your sublingual gland, right, SL, and your submandibular gland. So it goes to the anterior 2/3 and it also innervates the sublingual and the submandibular, right? So what you can notice or what you can see from here is that I've named three glands so far: the parotid gland, the sublingual, and the submandibular. But the parotid gland is innervated by cranial nerve number 9, whereas the sublingual and the submandibular is cranial nerve number 7, which is your fascia. So what you have to understand is that all of the glands in the head, take note, all of the glands, all of them in the head, they are supplied by the facial nerve, except the parotid gland. So meaning if they can ask you any gland, even if you don't know, they ask you lacrimal gland, nasal gland, palatine gland, all of them, if they ask you what is the nerve that innervates them, you just say facial nerve. Because the only one that is not innervated by the facial nerve is what is your parotid gland. It is instead innervated by cranial nerve number 9. But to be specific, the branch of it is the lesser superficial petrosal nerve, as we said. So that's it, guys. This is as simple as that. And then your auriculotemporal has two roots, as you can see here. It has this superior root, and then it has this inferior root, right? So if they can ask you how many roots does it have, it is the superior and the inferior root. It will be easier for you to understand if you understood this diagram of mine here, right? And one another thing, although this is all sensory, this nerve to mylohyoid, it is motor. So those are the exceptions. When we are going to the anterior division, it is mainly motor, but the buccal nerve is sensory, right? When we're going to the posterior division, it is mainly sensory, but the nerve to the mylohyoid is motor. It's as simple as that, guys. It's as simple as that. This is easy stuff. So with that being said, guys, I hope you understood what we covered today, and it will be easier for you to understand. And one other thing you must understand is that the trigeminal nerve acts as a carrier. It's not one of the parasympathetic, it doesn't carry parasympathetic fibers itself. It does not have the origin for parasympathetic fibers, sorry, but it carries them, right? Because the only nerves that have the only cranial nerves that have parasympathetic fibers is your cranial nerve number 3, your cranial nerve number 7, your cranial nerve number 9 and 10. So it is just your oculomotor, your facial nerve, your glossopharyngeal, and your vagus nerve. Those are the only ones which have parasympathetic fibers. But in these cases, you can see the auriculotemporal carries the parasympathetic nerves of the cranial nerve number 9 to supply the parotid gland. They don't originate from the auriculotemporal, but it carries them along with it to the parotid gland. So I hope you understood that, guys. So without wasting time, let's zoom into this picture here to summarize everything I just told you right now, and to make it easier for you to understand everything we're just discussing right now. So without wasting time, what you can see from this picture, we have our otic or our trigeminal ganglion, which is what I drew there for you. And you will have your V1, your V2, and V3 from it. So this will be your V1, this will be your V2. So you have your V1 there, you have your V2 there, right? And then from there, what you'll have is your sensory root and your motor root, as I discussed. Sensory root and motor root, they go together, both of them, they exit. What is this? The foramen ovale, as I discussed. Exit the foramen ovale, then they form a trunk, right? And then from your trunk, you have a branch that will go to the tensor tympani and tensor palatine and the medial pterygoid, which is the muscle of mastication, right? So you can see they pass through the otic ganglion. They pass through the otic ganglion. So this branch that goes to those muscles is called the nerve to medial pterygoid. Awesome. And then from there, what you have is your anterior division and your posterior division. So on your anterior division, you just leave this mesenteric and the deep temporal nerves for now, right? But they branch from the buccal nerve. So what you have to understand from what I told you is that from there you will have the lateral pterygoids, the masseter and the temporalis will be supplied. So the deep temporal nerves will go to the temporalis. The mesenteric will go to the masseter, and the nerve to lateral pterygoid will go to the lateral pterygoid muscle, as I explained. So it's easier for you to understand these things and to follow right now. And then from there you will have your buccal nerve. Remember that your buccal nerve is the only one which is centered. All of these are motor. And then from there you will have what? This is the posterior division, right? Although it is shown in the anterior, it is the posterior division. So you will have your lingual nerve. Your lingual nerve, remember, it is censored. You have your lingual nerve, which will be joined by your chorda tympani, which is the branch of facial nerve number 7. So they will go, remember that your lingual nerve, they will go to this is anterior 2/3 of the tongue, anterior 2/3 of the tongue. And then your lingual is mainly for what you call general sensation, and your chorda tympani for taste. And then your chorda tympani will also supply the submandibular. They didn't show the sublingual, but you remember it also supplies the sublingual gland, right? And then you have your inferior alveolar. Your inferior alveolar, I said that it will give the nerve to mylohyoid, and then it will go enter what is this foramen there? That is your mandibular foramen. It will go there, and then when it exits the foramen, the mental foramen, it will be called the mental nerve. And then there's a branch of it, another that goes to the incisive branch. The incisive branch, think of your incisive fossa. Yeah, I will do that later on. And still, remember, guys, I asked you if I should post the video on the Skype because it will be easier for you to understand all some branches, just like this one here, of the incisive branch. Because if you don't know the incisive fossa, you can't understand the function of the incisive branch. So yeah, you understand that. And then one other thing I forgot to tell you is that between the superior root and the inferior root of the auriculotemporal nerve, you have your middle meningeal artery. Middle meningeal artery. So that is it, guys. That is how simple this thing is. That is how simple anatomy is. Don't overcomplicate things. So before I can even finish off this video, you have to understand some complications, right? Because your lingual nerve is very close to your last molar. So if that was our last molar, it is very close to your last molar. So if maybe you go to a dentist and they somehow, but that is unlikely, they somehow when they are removing your last molar, they disturb or they cut the lingual nerve by mistake. What will happen is that you lose your general sensation of the tongue and you lose the taste. But if it gets affected somewhere there, the only thing that will be lost will be the general sensation. You will be able to taste, but you can't feel pain, the touch, and temperature, right? So that's it, guys, for this video. I hope you understood the mandibular nerve, the cause, the origin, and everything. As I explained, I tried by all means to make it as simple as I could. And then one other thing, let me know, guys, if I should do the same video to explain the cause of the ophthalmic division and the maxillary division, because they all play a role in the head before we are even going to go to the neck. So let me know so that I can do that for you guys, because I don't want to patch you with information. But yeah, I'll hear from you if you do want the video or not. And then please remember to like and subscribe. And yeah, tell your friends about the channel. And that's it from me, guys. Remember that God loves you. So take good care of yourself. And I'll see you on the next lesson, which will be on the lateral face and the parotid region. Signing out.